In this video, I'm going to compare the movie Lilo and Stitch, one of the Disney animation films that came out in the early 2000s, to Wild Robot, one of the most recent DreamWorks movies, only came out last year. I actually saw Wild Robot twice in theaters with friends of mine, and then I actually have rewatched it at home. When it comes to the first Lilo and Stitch movie, I've only seen it one time at this point. I watched it for the first time within the past few years. I think the past 2 years. I actually have seen several more Lilo and Stitch movies, but only seen the first one a single time, whereas I've watched Wild Robot 4 times at this point. Now, I think that Lilo and Stitch is really good. I like the idea here about an alien scientist that's considered to be a mad scientist. He creates this creature that all these other aliens are part of a galactic federation view as a monster, an abomination. They're really unhappy with this alien scientist, or I think his name Jumba, for creating this creature that ends up being known as Stitch. They say, well, you've done is wrong, you created a monster. And then this alien thing goes down to Earth and meets this little girl named Lilo. She ends up causing him to actually identify himself as Stitch. I think the relationship between Lilo and Stitch is really well done. It's believable. I like how it develops throughout the course of the movie. And even though Stitch doesn't talk much, he certainly doesn't speak fluent English the way a human would, or any human language, really. But he still is an interesting character. I like the way Lilo and Stitch looks. It's interesting. Throughout the movie, Stitch says a few words, to be sure, but he doesn't talk fluently in any language the way a human would. I like the dynamic between Lilo and her older sister, where there's no parent in the picture. So for Lilo, her big sister is also like her mother. You see how the relationship between the two of them actually gets better as the movie goes on. I like they also have this guy who's the authority figure. He's with the government. He's trying to make sure that Lilo's older sister is a suitable parent figure guardian for this little girl, Lilo. I like both the alien scientist along with the alien scientist's sidekick, the creature with the one eye. I don't really have very many problems with Lilo and Stitch. I think it's an interesting, memorable movie. There is emotion to it because of that bond that develops between Lilo and Stitch. I'm a big fan of Wild Robot. I really have no problems with that movie. I think the visuals are fantastic, the animation's very well done, and it actually is somewhat creative. Not to the same degree as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish or Spider-Verse or TMNT Mutant Mayhem or Mitchell's versus the Machines, but Wild Robot does still look somewhat interesting. It has this water pastel look to it. I think the voice acting is top notch. The story is compelling. The bond that develops between Roz and Bright Bill really is believable. You buy into their mother-son bond when there's tension, conflict between them in the movie. It's not forced or contrived at all. You totally understand where both characters are coming from. It makes perfect sense that there would be conflict because Bright Bill during the movie learns that Roz accidentally killed his biological family. She never told him. You completely get why Bright Bill would be unhappy immediately after learning this information. I like how the character of Fink develops throughout the runtime. At first, this fox, Fink, acts in a way that you would expect a fox to act. At first, he's rather shifty. He's more of a selfish guy that's taking advantage of Roz for his own ends, but as the movie goes on, he actually grows to care about both Bright Bill and Roz. When you get to the end of the movie and Fink is sad about Roz going away, it hits hard. Also, that moment at the end where Roz says, I am with all these animals. I am a wild robot. You just want to stand up and cheer. The whole third act with the animals defending their island works incredibly well. all these things that were set up earlier, even things that seemed like jokes at first, pay off in the end. I like the moment where Bright Bill goes into the ship, goes right up to Roz, actually calls Roz his mother. That hits very hard. The song that plays during the credits hits hard. I like that when you get to the end of the movie, Roz actually brings all the animals into this hut. Even though the other animals made fun of her, she actually chooses to save all of them. Fink even points that out. You all made fun of her, but this robot got you all to safety, even though it caused her power to be depleted. That's very powerful. So between these two movies, as much as I really enjoy Lilo and Stitch, I like the characters there. I have to say that I easily prefer Wild Robot. I think that's one of the best animated movies to come out in the past 5 years. To be honest, I really have no problems with it. I think it's up there with Inside Out, up there with Disney Renaissance classics, up there with some of the Pixar classics, honestly, like Monsters Inc. or Toy Story or Up or Wally, for example. That'll wrap things up this video.